Well, my friends, it is a surreal feeling to be sitting here right now making this video, which is essentially celebrating the mark of 1 year of being full-time here on YouTube. And I first want to say thank you to all of you for the support and just watching my videos, commenting, being part of what I'm doing here on the Backcountry Exposure channel. It genuinely means so much to me. What I wanted to do with this video is kind of pull back the curtains a little bit, have a candid conversation that's just really simple and raw, and share a little bit more about me, what it's been like to be working as a full-time content creator here on YouTube for the last year. Now, I've been making videos for 10 years at this point, so this isn't a totally new process of like, holy cow, now what has it been like to make videos for the past year, but what has it been like to use YouTube as my full-time income? So I want to talk about like sponsorships, how things have been from a financial standpoint, and then also do a little bit of a Q&A session that just gives you a little bit more of an idea of who I am, where I come from, my experience, and what I want to essentially accomplish with the channel moving forward. I feel like getting through the first year of being full-time was a huge stepping stone, and I'm loving it. It's a hard thing to put all of your eggs into this basket, and I hope it works out. And because of you guys being so generous and so kind and supportive in your comments, watching the videos, the messages and the emails that I get from you, it's simply incredible. So speaking of sponsorships, I'm just sitting here doing some final trip planning for a route that I've got planned for this coming weekend using ONX Backcountry, and ONX is sponsoring this video today. This is a tool that provides so much value to my backpacking experience. So much of backpacking happens way before you even put your pack on and start walking down the trail. And because ONX is such a good tool to use, it's made the planning process really easy. But what I also really like about ONX is the fact that they have a team of people behind the scenes that are continually working to provide updates to the app, take user feedback, and create something that has a lot of value to it. So this is not just a hiking navigation app and a route planning tool. This is multi-sport, where you now have mountain biking routes, you have climbing routes, and ski information. So you've got hiking, skiing, mountain biking, and climbing all part of the membership with ONX Backcountry. Do that by checking out the 14-day free trial down in the link in the description, but you can also save 20% and just go ahead and sign up for a 1-year long membership. It's less than $30. I think it's one of the best value things that you can buy and use for your backpacking and hiking and climbing and mountain biking and skiing. I want to thank ONX for sponsoring the video today, supporting the channel. Let's jump back into the conversation we're having. Let's go back about 3 decades. Talk about a little bit more about me and my experience, my passion and love for the outdoors. And it all really started in my childhood. My parents are to blame, if you want to put it that way, for introducing me to the outdoors. So many of our vacations as a family were going out on camping trips. We were exploring all sorts of different areas around southern Utah and the mountains and areas of western Wyoming, and I really found a passion for camping, but specifically being outdoors. And I'm really grateful that my parents instilled that just foundation within me of we can go outside and have a really good time outside, have good memories, see cool things, and do it in simple ways as well. And that's been a huge part of the foundation for me to find a deeper passion for the specific things that I do in the backcountry, whether that's camping, backpacking, fishing, rock climbing, whatever, spending time together as a family, those kinds of things. Now, as I got a little bit older into my teenage years, I had a really awesome mentor in a youth group that I was a part of that just instilled additional passions for the outdoors in different ways. And he actually introduced me to the art of photography and using light to expose things and capture things in a different way. And I think I was 14 or 15 years old when I purchased a Canon FTB fully manual, like old school 35mm camera. And I learned how to shoot star trail photos. I went out on a backpacking trip with this youth group that I was in and this leader, and he showed me how to shoot a star trail photo on a fully manual 35mm camera. And we did it in the bottom of the canyon of Coyote Gulch in Escalante. And I would say that that trip is where my absolute love and passion for the Escalante region pretty much developed. And right now it's just my absolute favorite place to go backpacking, to explore, and I love that area so much. It was from there that, also as a teenager, I found the sport of rock climbing, and climbing really was the springboard for me, just diving in headfirst into the deep end of starting a career in the outdoors. I didn't think that that was going to be the case at the time, but when I was 15 years old, I started working at an indoor climbing facility that was a brand new facility at the time. It was like kind of state of the art. Now that if you look at it, you'd be like, this is kind of a dinky old gym compared to so many of the other climbing gyms that are out there. But it really was a springboard for me to progress into a career path in the outdoors. And that has been amazing because of those experiences. It took me to where I'm at now, which is working as a full-time content creator, but it gave me a foundation of experience. But then after a short time of working at that indoor climbing gym, I also started my college education and got a bachelor's degree in exercise science and outdoor recreation management. Now, that degree has been one of the best things that has happened in my life, besides my wife and my kids. I just look at that degree and the education and the relationships that I got from that as one of the most important things that has happened in my life at this point. Now, I'm 37 years old. I'm not old by any means. I have a lot of life ahead of me and a lot of things that could change and be different for me, but up to this point, it's one of the most important things that I have invested my time into, and it's giving me other opportunities as well. Once I graduated from that degree, I also started working for the same program, teaching intro to backpacking classes and guiding college students on backpacking trips, and I've been doing that since 2017, so I'm upwards of almost 20 different classes that I've taken out on weekend backpacking trips as a guide, and that has been phenomenal. What an amazing experience it is to spend time with students, to take people out on a backpacking trip for the first time for a lot of these people, which is pretty amazing. I just love that and will continue to do it as long as it makes sense. After some time of working at the climbing gym, I then had an opportunity to go work for a startup cottage company. And many of you know that I was working for Waymark Gear Company. And unfortunately, after 3 or so years of time at Waymark, Waymark is no longer in business. That was a transition period that essentially led to me going for trying this full-time YouTube thing. And so here we are. Full-time YouTube, and it's a pretty wild experience, let me tell you. It's just strange to wake up and think, I'm working for myself today. Oh, I get to go on a backpacking trip today for work. I get to go spend time outside for work. Like, it's a really wild and surreal experience. But I have to be honest, being a full-time YouTube creator is not the fairy tale that I think a lot of people perceive it would be. Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love what I'm doing, and I am humbled and beyond grateful for where I'm at, how hard I have worked to be able to get to be doing what I'm doing. but I do understand also the risk that's involved working for yourself and being self-employed, having your own business, and also the amount of strain that it can put on you as well mentally. All of the great things are being able to spend more time with my family, having a lot more flexibility, being able to spend way more time outside and go on as many different kinds of trips as I want to do and not be limited to time frames or locations because I have to ask for time off of work and that kind of thing. But then you have to ask, like, what is the bad or the negative and the hard things about being a creator on YouTube, especially in the backpacking space? And I don't think that this gets talked about very often because why would you just sit and talk about what's hard about being a backpacking YouTuber when you can talk about tents and backpacks and go on trips and stuff? But it comes down to a lot of risk in running your own business. That's essentially what I'm doing here. Is I'm self-employed and this is a business for me. And I have to make money. I have to look at opportunities to drive revenue to my business and then pay myself to be able to pay my mortgage, my car payments, to put food on the table for my wife and my kids and myself. Those things are just so important to being able to live. And the crux of that is that everybody in the audience is looking at you as, is this person genuine? Does this person have integrity? Can I trust them? Is this person doing things from an ethical manner? And so I'm always approaching the channel and relationships that I develop with brands and agreements and sponsorships and stuff from that mindset. Like, is this sponsorship that I'm agreeing to do ethical? Is it the right thing to do? Am I doing it with integrity and being respectful and all of those things so that I'm not just looking for a paycheck, but doing it in a way that is also providing value to you as the viewer and the audience of my channel. And that's hard, like navigating what is right and making sure that I'm not doing something that ultimately goes against the grain for you as the audience. Like the integrity and the honesty and the trust that I want to convey to you is paramount in my overall mission statement, my goals, what I want to accomplish with the channel. So when you ask, like, why do you take sponsorships? Well, I have to make money. That's really what it comes down to. I have to make money, and YouTube revenue, affiliate marketing, brand deals, my Etsy store, and a few other opportunities are how I make money for my business. The thing to take away from this, I guess, is, yeah, sponsorships are a part of how I make money and how I support my business and how I support myself financially. But you can rest assured that I'm doing it from the mindset of questioning everything, trying to do as much research as I possibly can on a brand. Now, I know I've not been 100% on that, but I really do take sponsorships from brands that I feel like there is value in sharing the product with you, and it's something that I actually believe in. And I feel like YouTube creators say that all the time, like, I don't take money or sponsorships unless I actually believe in it. And that's like the honest truth. I want to also present maybe some unique brands or unique products that aren't always a supplement or a VPN or some kind of website service. Like, these are probably some different things, and maybe they're from overseas, but I do try to approach it from a level of integrity and trust and being as ethical as I can with those also, and knowing that, like, I turned down a massive amount of companies that email me and message me looking to basically use me as free marketing. That's a huge part of like my ethos as a brand and as a person as well. But then additionally, The other hard things about being a creator is sometimes it can be hard when people are simply jerks in the comments. And there's oftentimes that is a really rare thing, and other times it happens way too much. And I think people forget that I'm a human. Like, there's a human here that has feelings, that has a family, that has a want to be good and do good and share good things. And then you have people that choose to not reciprocate that. And maybe I say something stupid, or a piece of gear and I share my opinion on it doesn't line up with your opinion, and then I get roasted over the coals for sharing my opinion. I guess that's the risk of being a content creator, but it's hard when people are unnecessarily rude in the comments. And man, thanks to my wife for taking my venting sessions when people are less than ideal in the comments. That's a frustrating part of being a creator. But then anything else that's negative or hard just comes down to the things that you would expect when it comes to running a business. And so being self-employed is hard, but that's the challenge. So that's essentially the good, the bad, the ugly of being a content creator and such. So what I want to do now is actually talk about some questions, or answer some questions that you guys asked. Now, several of these questions were asked quite a while ago, and this has been something that I've been trying to do for a long time. In fact, I filmed this video several weeks ago. My microphone wasn't even turned on, and none of this worked out. So here we are for take two. But there are some really, really good questions that you guys asked. And the first set of questions that I'll go through tie directly to YouTube specifically. So the first question is, do you have moments where you miss your old job? Now, the old job would be referring to my time at Waymark Gear Company. And absolutely, I miss that job. I miss working with Mark. I miss designing backpacks and seeing people take those backpacks into the field and sharing photos, sharing their experience. I genuinely miss what that production situation was like. Man, that was a really, really fun job. But so was this job. And I think that's important to understand, that you're allowed to miss a previous work environment, but still love what you're doing for your current work. And that would be the same for working at the climbing gym. I loved those 8 years of managing a climbing gym, working with incredible people, and just being part of the outdoor industry in that specific way, especially the climbing industry. It was just phenomenal. So yeah, I do miss the old job. What has been the most rewarding part of you going full-time, and what has been the most challenging aspect? This kind of ties into what we were just talking about, but the most rewarding part has been that I get to spend more time with my kids and my wife. Together as a family, we've been on so many more adventures together. I'm home with my kids. I'm home with my kids every single day. I get to wake up with them, see them off to school, go swimming with them, take them to the park, and that's incredible. That has been absolutely the most rewarding aspect. The most challenging has been being self-employed, learning how to build and grow a business. It's hard. It's really challenging because nobody says, okay, now you're self-employed, here's a handbook. These are all of the things that you need to do to be a successful business owner. And entrepreneurship, however you want to look at it, is tough. So that would be the most challenging part. This is a financial type of question. Was it worth it? And did you hit your income goals and needs? But did you find that you had to compromise more than you expected to make it work? Now, I'm not going to get into the very specific financial aspects, but I have been able to financially support my family. I've been able to pay my mortgage, been able to pay my car payments, been able to go on trips and do things in the same way that I was doing with previous jobs that I've had. Would I like to be making more money? Absolutely. But I'm doing enough to support my family and take care of them. And honestly, at the end of the day, that is the most important thing. Now, the next question is, have I had more companies reach out to me for gear reviews and just wanting me to check out their products since I've been full-time? And yes and no. I think it's just a perception of maybe not paying attention to it as much when I was doing it from a part-time standpoint, because I have been making videos for 10 years. So I've developed relationships with a lot of brands, and I think now I'm just more cognizant of how many brands are reaching out to me, but I'm also reaching out to a lot of companies and requesting samples for gear that I'm really excited about. And I have more people reaching out because I think I've just networked more than I have previously. And this all goes back to what I was talking about with who I choose to work with, why I choose to work with them, being trustworthy and authentic about who I choose to work with. And so, yeah, I have a massive amount of emails that come in every single week, and I ignore or say no to 99% of what comes through. I truly only get gear or accept gear that I believe in, that I think would be interesting to share, or that I'm personally wanting to try out because I think there's some kind of value for you as the viewer to see that piece of gear. So hopefully that makes sense, but that's my answer to that question. And the last YouTube specific question is, when you get gear sent to you, are you expected to return the gear? Yes and no. Sometimes a brand will say, we only have so many samples of this available. Maybe it's a pre-production sample, or it's a prototype, or they just literally don't have many samples allocated for gear reviewers to use, and so they will ask for things back. But for the most part, brands don't want used gear back because they can't resell it, or they don't want to resell it. And it's an opportunity for me to continue to test and use for comparison against other pieces of gear. And typically, that's what I will say to a brand is, if they request something back, I will reciprocate with, could I hold on to this for a longer period of time so that I can test and compare and contrast against other pieces of gear that are similar in the category. So I might do a comparison video of a couple tents, or I'm taking it out on a trip, or I'm even allowing students to use some of these gear items so that they're not spending money to be able to go on these trips, to also outfit them with really good gear options. So sometimes yes, sometimes no, when it comes to sending gear back. Now, I've just got a few other general Q&A questions here that I thought were interesting and felt like would be fun to share here. So this question is, I've heard you mention that you teach a hiking and backpacking course for a college. Is that for a PE credit? And can you share what you do for the course and what's in the course program? So yeah, I alluded to the fact that I work as an instructor and a guide at a university teaching intro to backpacking classes. That class is a block class, so it's half a semester, and it requires a weekend backpacking trip for you to pass the class, and pretty much as long as you go on the trip, then you pass. But it either functions as an elective credit, or it is a prerequisite for pretty much every class that you would take as part of the outdoor recreation management program at the university. So when you matriculate into the program, you need to take a Foundations of Recreation class and the backpacking class. That is the prereqs for everything else. So it is an elective credit or a requirement if you are in the program. Now, the next question here is really simple. What are my favorite YouTube channels? I'm going to answer this as non-backpacking channels. Some of the channels that I love to watch. The first is Lifestyle Overland. It's still within the outdoor space. This is a family of now 4, the McCustons, that go out on overlanding adventures, and they have just a really keen way of telling stories. And their cinematography is great, but it's so fun to see them out as a family. And I have watched them for a lot of years, and one of the few channels that I've supported on Patreon as well. But I really love them. And then another channel that has been really enjoyable for me to watch has been Peter Santinello. It's kind of like amateur journalism. He goes around, interviews people in specific regions of areas. So he did like the Appalachia region of the States, and lets people tell their stories, their experiences, what it's like to live in these places. He went through a tour of Native American reservations from like Montana down through New Mexico or Arizona, and that was fascinating to just hear the experiences of these people and let them tell their stories. That channel I really, really enjoy. So those are two of my favorite, but I consume a lot of YouTube. I really, really enjoy YouTube. So there's many, many other channels, but those are two channels that I really, really do enjoy. Who was my favorite YouTuber that I've collaborated with this year, which is 2024? Now, the person that asked this question is Eric Hansen. And Eric Hansen is the only YouTuber that I have collaborated with this year. Well, I shouldn't say that. Ben Peterson, who owns NAFS, is a YouTuber as well. He spent a lot of time on YouTube with Blade HQ. Now he owns his own company, NAFS. And we recently went on a trip together. That was amazing. Eric was a blast to hang out with, and really hope that Eric and I can get out together because we live closer together than not. And so there should be opportunities for us to get on more trips. That Escalante trip we did together was very hard, a very difficult route, and Eric took it with stride. He took on the challenge with me, and he was a fantastic trail companion for that specific trip, which I wouldn't just willy-nilly choose anybody to go with me on that trip. That was amazing. This question is, where would you want to go hiking overseas if you had the chance? I want to go spend time in Norway. I also want to go to France, Switzerland, and just be in the Alps, the Swiss Alps. Chamonix is an area that I would love to go spend some time in. That would be the dream. So that's my quick answer, but there's many other places. I want to go to Iceland. I want to go to New Zealand and hike some of the Te Aurora, and man, like there's so many cool places to go, but it's time and money, and how does it all come together? What would be your top pick trekking pole tent below $300? That's an easy one for me to answer. The Tarp Tent Dipole 1 DW. I love that tent. It's phenomenal. It just it's such a good tent. I love it. But I think also the X-Mid would be a solid option. And yeah, those would be my answers. I like those. Good options under $400. And if you could only buy one tent, which one would it be? Ooh, also a great question. Now you would think I would say, well, yeah, just the Dipole. Just do the Dipole again. No, I'm going to say it's another Tarp Tent product, the Tarp Tent Double Rainbow Lithium. I bought that tent. I don't have it anymore. I sold it because I had an abundance of gear. So I moved on from it, but I would actually like to get another one because that tent is so good. That tent is kind of a unicorn for me specifically because it works in all kinds of situations, because it's a semi-freestanding tent. I can set it up here in the desert. I can pitch it in the mountain areas. I can pitch it up at high alpine areas, and I don't have to worry about it not being a solid, strong tent to use. And also the fact that it's very lightweight for a semi-freestanding tent. One of the lightest and spacious tents on the market in that category. So I think that's what I would choose. Given your job, you need to try out, or I need to try out new gear consistently. But is there something that is your teddy bear of camping? This is a great question. And maybe this isn't the teddy bear, but this is what comes to mind. And it's the Zoleo satellite communication device. I love that device. for the specific reason that it gives my wife so much peace of mind when I'm out on so many different trips, especially in remote places and doing some pretty epic and adventurous things. I'm able to text her, I'm able to check in, I'm able to have real-time conversation with my wife because of that while I'm out. And now people would say, well, ditch the electronics, don't worry about communicating, just focus on being present in the outdoors. I get that to a point. I absolutely do. Like, you need to disconnect. But I spend a lot of time out solo, out away from my wife and my kids, and this is one way that I can be in my tent and still be connecting with my wife and talking with her, checking in with her, and just reassuring her that things are going good. But it also gives her the ability to contact me if there's something that goes south at home that I need to bail and go help her. So that's my teddy bear, we'll say. This is a question that comes up pretty frequently, and it's my thoughts, or would you ever do a subscriber sponsored trip? Like, basically invite subscribers to come on a trip with me. And I would absolutely love to do this. I really would. But logistically, it's hard because getting groups together typically goes beyond permit requirements. It's also difficult to find campsites with large groups. These are things that I struggle with even when I'm out with my students. But there's also the liability aspect. Who does the liability fall on if we're out on a trip and somebody gets hurt? Like, I don't have waivers in place. I don't have insurance. If I'm doing it as part of my business, then there's liability there as well. So I have to be really careful. And I know that's kind of like maybe the lawyer answer, the legal talk answer to the whole idea of it. I'm definitely open to it, and I can look into it as an opportunity. But those are things that just make me nervous about like jumping all in to do a subscriber trip. So I want to do it, but I want to do it the right way. All right, 2 more questions here. What is my favorite family car camping tent? This question specifically said a 4-person, but it'll just say my favorite large family camping tent, and that would be the Nemo Aurora high-rise, either the 4-person or the 6-person. That tent is phenomenal. Vertical walls on 2 sides, plenty of space. It's an amazing value. It's held up in some crazy windstorms. I love the Nemo Aurora high-rise, 4-person or 6-person. That's what I would absolutely recommend. And the last question is, what is my favorite place to be in the backcountry? Now, I talked about this a little bit about Escalante, but it's the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument area, putting also Capitol Reef National Park into that area as well. I am just infatuated with the Escalante River, the canyons that feed the Escalante River. I actually have a passion project where I want to explore as many, or all, I should say, I want to explore all of the major drainages of the Escalante River corridor, and then float it in a pack raft, and then also walk the entire length of the river. The walking part would come in sections and just doing it as a section hike, piecing everything together. But that is my absolute favorite place to be. So I try to spend as much time as I can in Escalante. So there you go. Those are the questions that you guys asked. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and let me know if you want more Q&A style videos, and I'd be happy to work on them. But I guess to finish this up, what I really want to say to you guys as my audience, my friends, people that I care about, is thank you. Like, thank you from a very genuine place for supporting what I'm doing here on my channel. I am so grateful for you guys watching, for commenting, for reaching out to me, asking questions. Like, that means so much to me. So thank you for the support. Thank you for sharing my videos, for asking questions, for just being part of what I'm doing here. It genuinely means so much to me. Should we do this again in a year? I think so. We're gonna keep just plowing forward, sharing gear reviews, going on trips, and sharing more backpacking and camping content, and just enjoying the process. So again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for subscribing, for the support. You guys are amazing. And it sounds weird to say, but like, I genuinely love you guys. Like, thank you for making this a possibility for me. So with that said, we'll catch you on the next one. See you later.